I'm 100% fine with women having choice, better than bringing unwanted children into the world. No. Women could be boss babes and entrepreneurs and be Fortune 500 CEOs, but they don't know how to track their own cycles. They don't know how condoms work. Really?
Ruslan.
This is a great question. So again, this is someone that's never voted for Trump. First and last name. Here's something really simple. You want to know something Trump accomplished? Border security. Less people coming in illegally. You want to know something else Trump accomplished? No wars, no new wars under his watch. You want to know something else Trump accomplished? The biggest contribution to, if you're black, the biggest contributions to HBCUs ever. Opportunity zones in many of disenfranchised neighborhoods. So Trump, believe it or not, has actually accomplished quite a lot under his 4 years. Better economy, right? So that doesn't mean that he's a Christian or he's a good guy or I agree with him. There's a lot of stuff I disagree with him on. I think his position on DACA was terrible. I think his position on DACA was terrible. But he accomplished substantially more than she has, and he definitely accomplished more than Biden, in my opinion, in terms of what's for the average person. Shout out to Andy. He said, Ruslan, I will say this, though, saying you don't like Trump, but yet benefiting from the good policies he instituted is pretty foolish to me. Someone could benefit from someone's policies while having an issue with their character. I'm not sure why I can't say I appreciate his policies, but I appreciate his policies in saying I dislike his character and I dislike the way he speaks. Trump had an alley-oop as far as I'm concerned. Trump almost lost his life and had an opportunity to turn it around in terms of the way he was going to campaign. And instead of leaning into that, he leaned back into the divisive rhetoric, right? So I think that's a big wah-wah. You know what I mean? I think that's a big wah-wah on his part. Trump derangement syndrome going on. Yeah, Trump derangement syndrome is real. And so and I could also be honest and say, hey, there were better options on the right. What is wrong with saying there were better options on the right? Like those of you guys that are like Team MAGA, borderline MAGA cult. Why can't I say, hey, I think the right fumbled straight up. I think y'all fumbled. I think those of you guys that weren't actively engaged in the primaries, you could have had DeSantis, who the libs hate even more, but that's neither here nor there. You could have had DeSantis, you could have had Vivek, and you decided to get the guy who lost last time. That sounds like a personality cult to me. Like there has to be just scales in terms of how we critique these things. You can't just check out and be like, no, MAGA, that's it. Like, nah, man. I think there were better options, and folks went with I guess the poison that they hate. I don't understand the logic of what happened in the the Republican primaries. But I will say, at least there were primaries. All you guys that are Democrats, y'all didn't even have a primary. Do you think Kamala would have won in the primary? Like, honestly, you think Kamala would have won in the primary? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. She wouldn't have won a primary. All you got to do is go back and see how awful she did in 2019. And again, a lot of y'all just have amnesia. You just have amnesia. Yeah, the old Republicans got beat by the MAGA cult. That's a fact. That's a fact. And even in me offering the gentlest critique, this is how you know people got brainworms and don't critically think. The gentlest critique of Kamala or the gentlest critique of Trump, and people get crazy. I can't wait for November 5th to come around. I can't wait. If I say she's a bad politician, that's an objective fact. Like I could point you to data to back that up. If I say there were better options and you're triggered over Trump, you may be in a cult, fam, or you may be acting in a cult-like manner. Nobody ever voted for Kamala. That's a fact. Shout out to Star Wars. Key Dems have switched sides, and Trump has surrounded himself with non-establishment Republicans as part of a transition team he learned. Yeah. Now, I think he's doing more interesting things. Like, I think Tulsi Gabbard being in the mix is interesting to me. I think RFK being in the mix is interesting to me. But as like that's the best the right has. That's the best the conservatives have. It seems like a cult of personality. Why can't I say that? Why can't I say that without the Trump fanboys being triggered? You guys treat him like he's Andrew Tate. Like, stop it. You sound stupid. You're not persuading anyone like that. You're saying we should vote for third party. I'm not prescribing you should do anything. You should go do your research and vote your conscience. I'm saying don't compromise your conscience for a vote, in the words of Kirk Kennedy. That's what I'm saying. Vote your conscience. Just don't sacrifice your conscience for a vote. So if you feel uncomfortable with Kamala's policies, you feel uncomfortable with her treatment of the unborn, you feel uncomfortable with her terrible track record, you feel uncomfortable, but your thing is, I'm going to vote because I'm going to vote for her because I hate Trump. Don't do that. That's bad. That's dumb. You're voting against someone. You're not voting for anything you like because you have Trump derangement syndrome, right? And the same thing on the other side. Now, I don't know how, I'm going to say this. I don't know how any Christian in good conscience can vote for her. Like, being full aware of the policies she represents and the stuff she's cool with, I don't know how any Christian in good conscience could vote for Kamala Harris. I will say that. And that might hurt some of you guys, right? That might hurt some of you guys. So that's my position. And I have friends. My man D1 said he's going to vote for her. I would love to have these conversations. But I don't know how in good conscience you can vote for a party that has abortion bans outside, giving away free abortion pills and snipping people that probably haven't had kids yet. Like, they're telling you what they're about. If we're going to be honest, like, the Republicans of today are like the Democrats of the 90s, if we're talking policy. So, and what's happening on the left is like they went way left. They went off the rails. They're way off the rails. Way off the rails. Miss me with this is good for society. No first name, last name. No, it is not better. Killing babies is not. This is where worldview comes in. Think through this for a second with me. Shout out to Bourbon for the super chat. DC is a lot like the undocumented workers. The best and brightest aren't being sent. That's why you put your faith in Jesus. So work with it. And I'm not trying to pick on you. I'm 100% fine with women having choice, better than bringing unwanted children into the world. No, because we have to start with the framework of what is your worldview. Does your worldview value life? Yes or no? Does your worldview value life? Because if your worldview values life, women having choice can't. I want women to have choice about what they do for a job, whether they're stay-at-home moms or not, whether they get married or not. But you cannot say women having the choice to kill babies usurps a vulnerable, voiceless baby coming into the existence, even if they're not wanted. Do you understand that that is not coherent if you believe that Jesus is the God of the universe, right? And so there's no way you can make that make sense. There's no way you can rationalize it. You're not more sophisticated because what you're really dealing with is you're dealing with syncretism. You're taking conflicting worldviews and you're trying to make them clash. You're trying to mix oil and water, and you can't do that. It doesn't work that way. You cannot say, my value is the self-actualization of women at the expense of killing babies. Because then you're going to get very arbitrary where, are you okay with abortion up to birth? And if you're okay with abortion up to birth, then why up to birth? Why not after birth? Are you okay with abortion if a baby survives an abortion? Did it kill it after it comes out alive? Because there's a whole plethora of babies that have survived abortions, and they're still here today. Bringing unwanted children into the world. Let me give you a couple of names of unwanted children into this world. Did you know that Steph Curry was almost deleted? Barack Obama was almost deleted. Unwanted single mothers. You think they appreciate being in this world even though they were unwanted initially? Do you think they appreciate it? I just feel like it should be left up to the women and their doctors. Okay, well, foundationally, you feel. My man CP, the artist, was almost deleted. You feel. So it's not about what's right or wrong. It's not about what God says. It's about what you feel. So that's foundation. You're already off because you're talking about what you're feeling. You can feel all kinds of stuff. You could eat some bad pizza and feel a certain way, right? So no, No, the foundation is the worldview is incoherent. And this is what I mean. The primary roles of government, according to scripture, is not about what you feel and is not about what people actualize for their biggest, brightest dreams. That is not the primary role. The primary role of government is not to help you achieve your dreams. Did you know that? According to scripture, there's two roles for government. Role number one in Romans 13, the government is there to suppress evil by using the sword. In Jeremiah chapter 22, the government is there to protect the marginalized and the vulnerable. The government is not there to make you feel good. The government is not there to give you money. The government is not there to help you achieve your dreams, give you free health care, make sure you have all these things. That is not why the government exists, according to scripture, if you're going to have a biblical worldview. Now, if you're saying I'm not a Christian, well, then fine. I'm assuming this person is a Christian. Maybe they're not. So if the government's role, according to Romans 13, is to suppress evil by using the sword. That's what Romans 13 says. And Jeremiah 22, when Jeremiah the prophet is speaking to leaders, Jeremiah says the government is here to protect the vulnerable, to protect people, to protect folks that are marginalized. Suppress evil, protect people. That's why the government exists. So within that framework, who is more marginalized than voiceless babies? Who is more marginalized than people who literally don't have a voice? Who is more marginalized than the smallest? So you could say, I want the people here who are breathing to be protected. Okay, why? Because they're bigger? So you're okay with adults being protected, but you're not okay with babies? And what cutoff point? And why is it when they're in the womb, it's cool to kill them, but when they're out the womb, it's cool to kill them? Do you see how slippery of a slope all of this is? It's a very incoherent framework. Now, if you're not a Christian and you don't value life, then cool. But don't borrow from Christian values and then use them to judge. It's nonsensical. It doesn't make no sense. It really doesn't make no sense. So if you believe in life, you should be against the deletion of life. If you love life, if you love God and you love life, you should hate when people take innocent life. Now, that's across the board, by the way. When innocent life is taken, you should hate it. Even when it's in a woman's body. Even when you're trying to justify, the ends justify the means. Well, if this woman doesn't have the baby, then she can go to college and she can make more money. As if that's the end all be all of life. Make more money, fulfill your dreams and your passions. The end all be all is that's not the biblical North Star. Well, I'm just going to follow my dreams. And so how many people do we know on the inverse of this who had kids before they were married and it was the best thing that happened to them? Who had kids before they were ready, and it was the best thing that happened to them. Right? And no, what I'm not saying is that a Christian can't ever vote for a Democrat. That's not what I'm saying. There are local elections in my city, and I may vote for a council member that's a Democrat. I'm talking about the party, the federal DNC party. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people that put an abortion van in front of their own party. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. And so, vote your conscience. Just don't give up your conscience for a vote. This is a party that's, they told you what they were about. They're literally built on death. And no, it's not more nuanced than that. You can't nuance certain things. You can't nuance certain things. It's a lot more nuanced than that. Some women are denied abortions even at the risk of their own life. That is untrue, or if it is true, it's very unlikely. Because almost all these states post-Roe have made exceptions for the life of the mother, almost all of them. Now, are there cases where the doctors feel uncomfortable because they're not really sure if the life of the mother is ever? Yes, those cases exist. But again, you're going to the fringes. You're going to the very, 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 very fringes, and you're using the fringes to justify that the vast majority of people killing their babies are doing it out of sheer convenience. They're not doing it because their life is at risk. Stop it. That is disingenuous. That is not what's happening. The vast majority of people, 98%, are not because the woman's life is at risk and not because of rape and not because of incest. So if you would lock arms with me and say, we should ban abortion For the 98% of times where it's used as, by the way, 45% of the time when a woman has abortion, did you know that she's had it previously? That means almost half the time they've had one previously. Also, do you understand that the ramifications of the woman's mental health, of what's going on to her body, that's damaging to her body, it's damaging to her mental state, the increase of all of these different things. It's out of sheer convenience. 98% of the time, it's out of sheer convenience. So this idea that, it's always because of rape, incest, and the woman's health is just not true. So if you're at least reasonable, you should be like, we should ban it whenever it's done out of convenience. As if women don't know how to manage their own bodies. Women could be boss babes and entrepreneurs and be Fortune 500 CEOs, but they don't know how to track their own cycles. They don't know how they don't know how condoms work. Really? Interesting. My wife hasn't been on birth control in 15 years. We got 2 kids, 6 years apart. 2 kids, 6 years apart. You mean to tell me women don't know how to track their cycles? Get out of here. That's nonsense. So you have whole families with children already living and breathing who lost their mothers. Yes, I'm sure you could find some fringe case somewhere where perhaps that has happened. I haven't heard of that. I have not heard of a story of a woman that has lost their life because she was denied an abortion. Now, if it's happened, that's awful and that's tragic. And that shouldn't happen. Meaning her life was really at risk. If it's happened, it's awful and that's tragic. But do not pretend and act like the other 98% of these situations are not done out of sheer convenience. Don't do that. Don't do that. That is not reasonable. That is not fair. That's just not true. That's just not true. And we have to be people of truth. So if you've figured out a way to contort this logic in your brain, what it really is just, I mean, just be honest. Like you think women's self-actualization trumps unborn babies. And then my question to you was, well, where do you draw the line? Are you okay with any type of restrictions? Right? Are you okay with any type of restrictions? Because, by the way, did you know that most of Europe has a 12-week ban? Did you know that most of Europe has a 12-week ban? Do you know the majority of Europe has a 12-week ban? You know what it was here before Roe v. Wade, right? 24 weeks. 24 weeks. Double what Europe has. So where do you draw the line? And are you willing to lock arms with pro-lifers and say, hey, the 98% of abortions that happen out of convenience are absolutely wrong and they're murder? Are you willing to do that? Right? Because they're flipping out. By the way, Trump, one of my issues with Trump is because Trump flip-flopped on abortion, as far as I'm concerned. One of my issues with Trump is that when DeSantis passed the 6-week situation in Florida, all of a sudden, people got an issue with it. Why? Why you got an issue with 6 weeks? You got an issue with 6 weeks? That to me, it should be like, yo, no. Yeah, so babies have made it, I want to say as early as 21 weeks. The ban was 24 weeks under Roe, or the restriction. Europe has it at 12 weeks. You can fact check me on this. Go look it up. Europe has it at 12 weeks. What they were pushing, you know how Roe got overturned? You know how Roe v. Wade got overturned? This is how funny this is. Roe v. Wade got overturned because there was a Mississippi ban at 15 weeks. Roe v. Wade got overturned because the people in Mississippi fought a ban at 15 weeks. Mississippi or Alabama. Europe has a 12-week ban. That's crazy. That's crazy. And so as far as I'm concerned, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. They were uncomfortable with a 12-week ban in a red state. Uncomfortable. Yeah, and not to mention, absolutely, the entire Roe v. Wade backstory and that actual woman was a complete lie. Right? Like there's so many levels to this. Not to mention the eugenics of abortion. Why is there an abortion clinic in black and brown neighborhoods? Right? But we don't even got to go there. I'm just speaking strictly principle. Strictly principle. It's primarily done out of convenience. If you can acknowledge that, then you should be down to ban all abortions done out of convenience. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Comment down below and let me know what you think. And be sure to check out this video that YouTube is recommending just for you. Let me know if they nailed it. All right? I'll see you over there. Peace.